Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Was Neglected and Become the Dragon Sage God Part 5. Before we start, please go support Destroyer God 91 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. Chapter 14. The Preliminaries Battle. Time skip. The genin who advanced through the second part of the exam was now standing in the middle of the area along with the Hokage, and the jonins of their genin teams were watching them from a distance away. The board flashed through names of the genins around as they all waited with bated breath as two names popped up onto the screen as the rest of the genins left from the middle of the stadium, leaving the proctor and the two inside of the arena. As Hate spoke, Uchiha Satsuki vs Okado Yoroi. Begin. Recap end. Satsuki smirked as he read his name and the name of her opponent. Didn't waste any time, did they? He thought as she glanced at Naruto only to see him giving her a thumbs up and a bright smile. Satsuki's face turned a crimson shade of pink. Stupid baka, why does he have to be so damn adorable, thought Satsuki, before her eyes widened at what she said, as she quickly turned her gaze from to the floor, finding it rather interesting at the moment. Yoroi's expression was hidden due to his mask. In a dull voice he spoke. I couldn't ask for anything more, me face the Uchiha princess. Thought Yoroi with a smirk, maybe Lord Orochimaru would be proud of his victory of winning against this little girl. Go ahead Satsuki, show everyone what you are made of, thought Naruto as he was proud of the Uchiha princess. Alright now. Those whose names have been drawn, come forward. Hate called as Satsuki and Yoroi Okado stepped out of line and stood before the proctor. Yoroi's appearance was greatly concealed by the mask he wore around his mouth that hung to around his neck, along with sunglasses that obscured his eyes and forehead protector, which he wore like a bandana. He also wore what appeared to be the standard attire of his team, consisting of a high-collared, sleeveless purple shirt with a short-sleeved white one underneath, a simple obi around his waist, purple pants, blue sandals and purple fingerless gloves. Stopping in the front of the teams, the two ninja faced each other. You have been chosen for the first match, Yoroi Okado and Satsuki Uchiha. Are there any objections? The third proctor asked the two. Zero, Satsuki said casually. None here, Yoroi gruffly answered. The male sound sensei smiling at the turn of events. Kakashi's expression hidden by his mask per usual. As Yoroi and Sasuke stared each other down, Naruko resigned herself to the fact there was nothing more she could do. It's finally time, Satsuki, show everyone what you and truly do. Thought Naruko. You better win, Sasuke. Narumi thought, cheering her teammate in her own way. If you ever hope to take me on. She finished. Satsuki, good luck. Thought Kushina, who mentally cheered her student on. Now we just sit back and see what happens. Niji thought, eager to see what the other wielder of one of legendary ninjutsu was capable of. If he hurt her, I'll kill him. 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 Everyone looked over to the large-shaped talking crow that was sitting on the edge, as the weird part about it was the 3 Tomo Sharingan in each eyes, and was talking in a demonic tone. Everyone that was standing next to the crow took a large step back as the thing continued to speak in the demonic tone. Heard my little sister you die. Everyone gaze turned back to the floor as Gemma just announced the first match. Satsuki Uchiha vs Yoroi Okado. First match, Satsuki Uchiha vs Yoroi Okado begins, said Hade as he leaped back. Satsuki immediately leapt backwards, wanting to get some space from her opponent to learn what kind of fighting style he had, while Yoroi just stood there, looking cocky. There's no way you can beat me, Uchiha, just give up, Yoroi said with a cocky smirk. Sasuke glared at her opponent and activated her Sharingan before charging into close range again. With her Sharingan active, Yoroi's movements became blindingly obvious, and Sasuke had no trouble avoiding another grapple, delivering a kick to her opponent's side, sending him skidding away. If that's your only trick, then this is going to be a short fight, said Satsuki as she mocked her opponent with a superior smirk. Yoroi growled before charging at Satsuki again, wanting to wipe the smirk off the Uchiha's face. Satsuki was easily able to predict and counter all of his moves thanks to the Sharingan, and Yoroi found himself kicked away, causing him to spit out saliva. Yoroi stood to his feet as he growled in anger before rushing towards Satsuki with the intent to kill as the chakra of his palms turned a bright green. Satsuki effortlessly dodged each and every single thrust of his arm, but he just wouldn't let up. The man was a one-trick pony, nothing more. If she managed to overcome that chakra absorption ability that he relied so heavily on, then she would win the match in a matter of minutes. His speed was starting to overwhelm her, and he became closer to grasping her head with each thrust. She narrowly dodged his final thrust, but he managed to graze a lock of her hair. She felt some of her chakra leave her and begun to slow down even more. That's all it takes. He just has to touch the smallest amount of my body, and that lets him absorb my chakra. That is so unfair. I can't let him absorb anymore. It seems like he can only use his jutsu through one of his hands at a time though. I just have to get around that right hand of his. She could already feel that he had absorbed a small portion of her chakra after only a small amount of physical contact. She couldn't risk losing any more. Taijutsu was out of the option, but if she did choose to use it, she would have to avoid his hands where he focused the technique. The young Uchiha decided she would keep her distance for now and see how ninjutsu would work. Okay, this bastard is pissing me off, thought Satsuki as his eyes flashed with the Sharingan. Satsuki jumped back and started forming hand seals. Kaiten. Kikyaku no Kutsu. Satsuki exhaled a fairly large fireball that rushed Yoroi at high speeds. If it hit him, it would definitely slow him down throughout the rest of the match. However, Yoroi was several years older than Satsuki and was much faster than she had expected. He easily dodged the jutsu and rushed at her once more. Yoroi quickly went through his hand seals and grabbed his right wrist. His right hand started to glow a light blue color and reached for Satsuki's head. She couldn't get away fast enough and forced to go on the defensive. She couldn't afford to let him touch a single hair on her head with that hand. Even the smallest bit of physical contact would cost her a fair amount of chakra. This went on for a few minutes before Satsuki had enough. She blocked his arm, making sure not to touch the glowing hand, and countered with a palm strike to his solar plexus. This sent Yoroi staggering back a few feet. There wasn't much power behind the strike, but she managed to catch him off guard. Satsuki saw an opening and used it to start her counter-attack. She rushed the elder genin and swept his feet out from under him with a sweep kick. Then drove her fist into his stomach, sending him straight into the gown, causing it to crack. The female Uchiha wasn't done yet. She reached into her weapons pouch and pulled out another handful of shuriken. She sent them toward the downed man and made a singular hand seal, shuriken cage bunshin. No jutsu, 4 shuriken multiplied into 15 and were aimed to pierce Yoroi through multiple points on his body. The traitorous genin managed to recover, but he couldn't avoid all of those shuriken. 2 pierced his left leg and 1 his right arm. DCH, she's tougher than I thought. With these injuries I won't be able to finish this as quickly. I just need to get a good grip on her and then this will be all over. One chance is all I need. Were Yoroi's thoughts. It's time to end this, thought Satsuki as she closed her eyes before snapping them open, revealing 2 Tomo Sharingans in each eye. In a newfound burst of speed, she charging into close range again with her Sharingan active. Yoroi's movements became blindingly obvious and Sasuke had no trouble avoiding another grapple, delivering a kick to her opponent's side, sending him skidding away. If that's your only trick, then this is going to be a short fight, said Satsuki as she mocked her opponent with a superior smirk. Yoroi growled before charging at Satsuki again, wanting to wipe the smirk off the Uchiha's face. Sasuke was easily able to predict and counter all of his moves thanks to the Sharingan, and Yoroi found himself kicked away, causing him to spit out saliva. Bored with playing around, Sasuke charged at Yoroi and quickly executed her borrowed version of Naruto Shadow Dragon Dance, which Naruto had shown her during training. Satsuki rushed towards Yoroi with great speed as she sent a feint kick towards him, which he smirked and blocked. His eyes widened as his chin was almost lifted up from his body as a fist connected with his chin, sending him flying into the air. While mid-air he creaked open his eyes, but before he could even blink he was met with a leg drop that sent him spiraling towards the ground. Hayate looked into the crater and saw a bloodied and knocked out Yoroi. Winner, Uchiha Satsuki, Hayate announced, seeing that Yoroi was out cold. Satsuki walked back up the stairs as she turned her head to Naruto, who had a grin on his face with a thumbs up, which caused her to blush. Good job, Satsuki-chan. I knew you could do it, said Naruto with a small chuckle as Satsuki turned her head so that he couldn't see the red tint that spread across her cheeks. Why, yeah, like IW would lose to a nobody. Naruto once again chuckled as he brought her into a once-armed hug, but before Satsuki could do anything, a black crow with a pair of fully matured Sharingan landed on his shoulder. Let go of my little sister or die. Naruto sweat dropped while Satsuki face palmed. Ani-chan, the names came in rolling once again as Hayate called out the names. Zaku Abumi vs Shino Aburam. Second match, Zaku Abumi vs Shino Aburam begins, said Hayate as he jumped away. Zaku attacked first by running close range, hoping to end it quickly. Shino brought up his arm to block his attack and Zaku said, "Idiot Zankyuha." Zaku opened his hand to reveal air holes implanted in his arms and shot a sound wave, blasting Shino off his feet and to the ground. Heh, he is done. Shino got up. Are you sure about that? Zaku spoke. Tch, this time I will get you for sure. Zank, Shino interrupted him. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Zaku said, what the hell are you talking about? Then he heard a soft clicking sound and looked behind him to see a horde of bugs converging on his position. Shino then spoke. The way I see you have 3 choices. The first one is that if you attack me, then my Kakachu bugs will attack you and devour your chakra. The second is if you attack my bugs, then I will have the opportunity to attack you. The third, which should be the smart choice for you, is to give up and you will be able to walk away from this without going to the hospital. Zaku said, it would be wise not to underestimate me. You forget. Zaku turned to his side and aimed his arms at Shino and the bugs. You forget that I have 2 arms. I will blast you and your stupid bugs away. Zankyuha. Zaku's arms suddenly imploded from the inside and the Odo ninja screamed in pain, but how my arms? Then he saw bugs crawling from his air holes. Shino smirked before speaking. You think I would just let you hit me like that? I sent some bugs silently onto your body when you hit me, and the rest was able to get to your arms when I stalled for time. You bastard, roared Zaku before launching towards Shino with blood in his eyes. And you're dead. Zaku arms burst outwards as he simply collapsed. Hate walked over as he let out a cough before announcing the match. Winner, Shino Aburam, said Hate as Shino slowly walked back upstairs. The board went through names as it called out the third match. Sabaku no Temari vs Tenten. Hate then spoke. The next match, Sabaku no Temari vs Tenten. She walked down the stairs to face Temari, who was wearing a confident smirk on her face. Are the contestants ready? Both of the Kenoichis nodded in confirmation, and Hei chopped down his hand. Tenten and Temari both jumped back to get some distance between each other. The weapons mistress threw kunai at the wind mistress, but Temari gathered wind nature chakra to block the kunai away from her. What? But that attack was right on, said Tenten. Naruto watched the battle with calculations. She is using wind manipulation. Bad matchup for Tenten. She has absolutely no chance in winning unless she has a fire jutsu. Since Guy can't do ninjutsu, and assuming that Tenten has not asked anyone to teach her ninjutsu, Tenten has a major disadvantage, thought Naruto. Temari unclasped her fan and opened it up to reveal a purple moon on the fan. This is the first moon. When you see all three, the match will be over. Tenten gritted her teeth as she racked her brain. How is she doing that? She is not using any hand signs or nothing, but yet my attacks can't get through, damn it, thought Tenten with irritation. Tenten ran at Temari and threw kunai at all directions as she thought. This should work, but unfortunately again the attack failed and Temari swung her fan to blow back Tenten and her weapons. You are on the second moon, sister. Look, it's over, your weapons aren't effective against my style, which has been proven twice. Temari said. Tenten unclasped the two scrolls on her hips as Lee's eyes widened before speaking quietly. Tenten, you are not thinking of using that technique, aren't you? Whispered Lee. Tenten thought. I have no choice, this move should be able to pierce that wind defense of hers. I can't lose here, there is someone that I want to fight here. Tenten placed the two scrolls apart from each other and bit her thumb, drawing blood. Well, like they always say, the third time is the charm, Sashoru, she shouted. The two scrolls burst and twirled around Tenten. She flew up and levitated in the middle. She grabbed one of the scrolls in air and began to flip in around her until the scroll unfurled around her. Then she swiped her blood on the markings, making various weapons popped out in existence. Then Tenten threw the weapons one by one at Temari, who swung her fan to make the weapons blow off course and stab her fall on the ground around her. Tenten smirked and brought her hands back to her body, and to everyone's surprise, the weapons came back to her. Kakashi then spoke. Very clever, she used wires to attack to the weapons. Clever girl that guy got. Sorry, today is not your day, you lose, princess. Temari swung her fan while shouting her technique. Ninpu. Kamitachi no Jutsu. The weapons were blown back once again and Tenten was trapped in a wind cyclone where she was slashed up by invisible blades of wind. Tenten fell to the ground, but Temari caught her in her arms before she fell to the ground. Naruto caught the unconscious Tenten before she hit the ground and gave her to the medics. Winner, cough Sabaku no Temari. Said Hate. I see you held back, Temari-chan, said Naruto with a smile as Temari blushed before smiling back at him. This caused three redeeds and a black-haired girl to glare at the female blonde. I didn't want to hurt her too badly after I realized that she had no ninjutsu. Said Temari as she raised an eyebrow, feeling a bit of killing intent. Minato slowly turned to his wife with a horrified look on his face as she was radiating bloodlust as her hair split into 9 flowing parts. Minato quickly signaled Hei to start the next match quickly as he nodded before turning back to the board. Sabaku no Kankuro vs Misumi Tsurugi. Okay, now the fourth match. Will Sabaku no Kankuro and Misumi Tsurugi please come down to the arena? Kankuro then spoke. He, this will be easy enough. Baki, the sensei of the sand, spoke to Kankuro. Kankuro, don't get cocky. Kankuro pretended that he didn't hear him at all and continued to the arena. That idiot is going to get himself killed. Said Temari. Naruto chuckled from beside her. Kankuro stood and faced Misumi, Yoroi's teammate. Just throw the match or I'll kill you. Said Misumi as he only smirked. Sorry, but I plan on winning this match. Begin, said Hei before leaping away. Kankuro started things off by throwing a punch to Misumi's face, but the Konoha spy blocked it with his forearm and then something weird happened. Misumi's arm twisted around Kankuro's arm, startling him and allowing Misumi to constrict himself all over Kankuro's body. You see, my bloodline allows me to dislocate my bones and become like rubber. Now forfeit the match or your neck will snap. Said Misumi. Never. Said Kankuro with a huge smirk. Misumi squeezed tighter and tighter until everyone heard Kankuro's neck snap. God damn it, I really didn't want to kill him. Suddenly Kankuro's face started to peel off like a what the hell. Kankuro lifted his head and turned it completely around to reveal that the person Misumi was holding was not a person, but a puppet. Now it is my turn, the puppet said in Kankuro's voice. Next, the puppet's arm sprang from the cat suit and wrapped around Misumi's body. The puppet? Then where is Misumi said. Then he looked toward the bandages to see something moving and a hand popped out to remove it, revealing Kankuro. You're a puppet master. Misumi said, his eyes widened in shock. That is correct, and now I will return the favor, but I won't break your neck, instead I will break everything else. Kankuro clenched his fist and the puppet crushed Misumi's bones and making him scream in pain before falling unconscious. Like I said, too easy. Kankuro said. Hey, thought, that was close, I almost called the match, too soon. Kankuro walked back upstairs while the medics came and carried Misumi's broken body. The board flashed through names. Ino Yamanaka vs Sakura Haruno. Now for the 5th match, will Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka please come down? Hey, said. The two looked at each other briefly and walked down the stairs. Naruto, in particular, was not at all interested in the match, but watched anyway for the amusement. The two girls fought using the academy Jutsu style that they learned. Sakura used the academy jutsu like the Bunshin and Kawarimi to her advantage, while Ino used a unique way to trap Sakura, using her haircut from her ponytail. As the match progressed, everyone knew that the girls were evenly matched, and as a result, they both were knocked out at the same time. Naruto shook his head at the horrible fight. They both still need training, that Ino girl have great potential, thought Naruto, as he was soon snapped out of his thoughts and turned back to the board. Naruto turned to the two redeeds as he gave the two girls a foxy grin, while everyone gasped as they saw the names. Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze vs Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze. Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze vs Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, the proctor calls, gasps ringing across the room. The two combatants, who happened to be standing side by side, turn their heads to one another, faces etched in disbelief. Naruto watches on with great interest. He watched over the girls' training over the time that he spent with them. He could already tell that this was going to be an exciting match. Give every drop of yourself down there. I won't accept any less, Naruko sobbed, a smirk forming on her face. The uncertainty on her sister's face shifts to a determined smile as she responded. The same goes for you, tomato head, she taunts with the old nickname. The two leaped down to the arena floor to stand across from one another. Your sisters got drawn together, Naruto. Who do you think's gonna win? Temari asks, turning her head to the blonde who watches on, showing no emotional investment whatsoever. It will all come down to who trained the hardest, however both of them training to their lowest, he responded as everyone paid close attention. Let the battle begin, Hei coughs, signaling the battle. A cloud of smoke bursts from Naruko's hands, revealing a katana as Narumi sprints toward her with a kunai in hand. Sparks fly as a flurry of blows is exchanged, the two shifting and moving across the arena floor in a dance of Kenjutsu combat. Minato and Kushina watched on from above intently, as Minato had a proud smile on his face, seeing the training of his daughter. Narumi and Naruko both jumped back as they went through hand signs. Water style. Water bullet jutsu, the two call out simultaneously, projectiles colliding and cancelling one another out as the two sprint towards each other. Naruko swinged her katana to Narumi, who blocked it with a kunai, the two attempting to push and overpower one another. Narumi takes advantage of the moment, swinging the duel to the side, releasing her kunai. Naruko lost grip of her katana as the weapon flying to the side. Narumi attempted to give chase only for Naruko to grab her by the ponytail, tossing her back. Following up with an uppercut and stomach shot that sends her into the ground. As she tries to deal the finishing blow from above, however, she reeled back in pain, clutching her chest as Narumi swung a set of claws across her chest. She looks down at the marks on her chest to see 4 slashes running across it, looking back up to see her sister's eyes now crimson red with slits for pupils and a smirk on her face. She knows she can't match my physical strength and base, so she's taken it up a notch. Well, two can play that game, thought Naruko as her own eye color shifts, a set of claws emerging as the two sprint towards each other, exchanging more blows as a red aura begins to emerge with each blow, the onlookers observing, some anxiously. Is that chakra? But it's visible to the naked eye. Is it not supposed to be blue? Questioned Lee as Niji, narrowing his eyes. Their chakra. Temari marveled at the intensity. The only thing I've ever felt that could compare to this is, she glanced to her brother, who kept the same stoic look on his face. Narumi, Naruko, is this how strong you both really are? Satsuki ponders, clenching her fists. So that's the Nine Tails chakra, huh? Thought Gaara as his lips slowly tugged up with a small smile. This was gonna be sort of fun, but Naruko and Narumi. Narumi backflips as Naruko swings a fist into the spot she stood on that leaves a crater-shaped spiderweb of crack. She swings again, leaving another one. Naruko backpedaled away. The Nine Tails chakra is helping me move faster, but it's multiplying that strength of hers too. And she won't let me get to my sword either, Naruko notes, glancing to the blade on the far side of the room. She smirks, not being able to help being proud of her sister. Turning this into a fist fight benefits her. I only have one chance of winning this, she bolts towards the sword, Narumi deducting her intentions quickly. "Oh no you don't," Narumi said, swinging another fist that caused Naruko to jump back from as she smirked before extending her hand. Be quite successful. A single chain of glowing golden color springs from Naruko's palm to wrap around Narumi, pinning her arms against her sides, her eyes wide in shock. "No way, impossible, this is mom's technique," said Narumi as Minato eyes raised in shock. Kushina beamed at her daughter use of the Uzumaki clan Kekkei Genkai as she cheered. Lady Kushina's adamantine sealing chains. "Well what did you know? I never would have guessed one of you had them," Asuma added. What a fight this was, these genin were gonna be monsters in the future. With Minato and Kushina. "Kushina, Naruko inherited your adamantine chains," said Minato in shock as Kushina's smile dropped as she turned towards him and nodded. "I'd suspected it might be the case for a while, but my suspicions were only confirmed much more recently." Her Uzumaki blood runs strong, Kushina responds with a small smile that only holds for a second before the firm look of concentration on the fight is back in place. Minato looked at her for a moment before sighing and turned back to the fight. "Your Nine Tails chakra is useless against these restraints. Forfeit now," Naruko commanded. "You'll catch up to Naruko in no time. You'll be as good as your sister someday. You'll be better someday Narumi, I know it." Narumi struggled against the chains that wrapped around from her upper arms down to her wrists, infusing more of the red chakra. Cracks began forming in the ground beneath her as she releases an almighty yell that reverberates against the walls, shaking them, desperately trying to break the restraints, to no avail. "Don't insult me, finish the fight like a real kunoichi," Narumi fires back. Naruko takes a glance at the proctor who says nothing before looking back at her opponent and taking a deep breath before pulling on the chain, sending her sister flying towards her, fist cocked back. She swings it forward, making contact square in the face, sending the blonde genin onto her back in an incapacitated heap. The chain releases as it winds around Narumi's body to retract back in Naruko's hand, who falls onto one knee above her sister. That was intense. "Winner." Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze Hei declares as Naruko looks up to see her mother standing over her as the medical ninja followed. "Look at you learning fast," Kushina teases with a smile while bending over to tend to an unconscious Narumi. "Lady Kushina, please allow us," one of the medical ninjas says. Kushina complied but followed closely behind as they stretcher her off as Naruko followed along. Minato remains in his seat despite wanting to follow, having to be present for the remaining battles. The battles all went on. Shikamaru Nara vs Choji Akimichi. Winner Shikamaru Nara. Tiba Inuyasaka vs Niji Hyuga. Winner Niji Hyuga. Hinata Hyuga vs Dosu Kanuta. Winner Hinata Hyuga. Gara no Sabuku vs Kabuto Yakushi. Winner Gara no Sabuku by forfeit. Everyone however paid close attention to the last match of the preliminary. Naruto Strife vs Rock Lee. "We will now begin the final match of the preliminary. Will Naruto Strife and Rock Lee come down?" said Hade. "Gosh, it's time for me show the power of youth," roared Lee as he jumped from the railing and landed into the arena, giving a nice guy pose. "Good luck," Temari assured, smiling, Satsuki giving him a nod as well. Both of them would be shocked if any of the genin in this room could beat Naruto. Naruto chuckled as with one foot he hopped onto the railings before both of his feet slowly started to descend into the air. Everyone's jaws dropped as they saw what only the Tsuchikage could only do. "He can fly," screamed almost everyone inside of the tower as Naruto slowly landed a distance away in front of Lee, whose eyebrows seemed to almost fall off the top of his head. Lee snapped out of his shock as a new burst of fire burst into his eyes. "If I don't learn how to fly then I will climb the Hokage monument with a single finger while doing jumping jacks," said Lee as Naruto sweat dropped. "Fortune may exist after all," Lee shouts, fire burning in his eyes. "Precisely the battle I've been begging and waiting for," he shouts. "Alrighty Lee, your moment has come. Save the very best for second last is how the saying goes after all," he exclaims, his Jonin peers sweat dropping. "Yes Guy sensei, I will not fail you," he exclaims with as much fervor, saluting his teacher with a starry-eyed look of admiration written in his eyes. "I know you won't my boy," Guy responded, tears leaving his eyes, all present watching sweat dropping at the scene, including Naruto who is watching with slight amusement. With Team 7, Kushina and Naruko returned to the room just in time to see Lee standing across from Naruto waiting for the fight to commence. "Oh Naruto-kun, you've got this sweetie," Kushina cheered as Naruto turned to her and gave her a seductive grin, which caused a heart to skip a beat and a silly grin to spread across her face. Minato sat in anticipation. Finally, he'll get see Naruto fight in person. "Let's see what you've been telling me about Kakashi." "Let the battle commence," begin Hade ordered. Lee sprints towards Naruto, swinging a roundhouse kick that he blocks before gripping him by the ankle and tossing him away like a rag doll. The boy skids and rolls, springing back to his feet and charging again. He swings a flurry of fists and kicks that Naruto parries away before swinging a fist of his own into the boy's stomach that catches him off guard, his eyes wide at the strength, and a right hand to the side of the face that sends him stumbling back. "Your taijutsu is impressive. I've never seen that style before," Lee notes as Naruto chuckled. "Of course you haven't. My fighting style isn't of the leaf like yours. I would highly recommend taking those weights of yours off or at the very least using some ninjutsu, Naruto said. I can't be certain of how long it'll be before I start getting bored. How did why, he stutters. Your movements are clearly too labored for someone of your taijutsu proficiency. It looks abnormal, Naruto explains. Lee grunted before cartwheeling several times and taking a giant leap to stand atop the two hands that form the ram seal at the far end of the room. Lee, his teacher, calls to him, earning the boy's attention. It's okay. Take him off, the Jonin commands with a thumb up. But Guy-sensei, you said only to take them off if the lives of important people were in danger. It's alright, I'll allow it. Now do it, Guy commands with a smile. The boy complies, tucking his hands beneath his orange leg warmers and pulling an identical set of weights from beneath them, holding them out on either side of himself. He releases his grip, allowing them to fall from the height of the statue to the floor below. How is dropping a couple of pounds supposed to help him match? And Satsuki's train of thought is brought to a grinding halt as the weights hit the ground, shooting twin plumes of debris that tower to the ceiling of the room as they impact the ground to form crater-sized spiderweb cracks, gasps echoing throughout the room. Naruto's eyebrows rise slightly at the display, a small smirk forming on his face as excitement dances in his eyes. Now we're talking, yelled Naruto as he unfolded his arms. The genin clad in green springs from atop the ram seal locked hands, bolting back down to the ground. He bolts back and forth around his opponent, almost a blur to the naked eye, onlookers watching in disbelief at the display of speed. This is how fast he really is. Insane, Satsuki marveled at Lee's speed. Ara looked on with bland eyes, but on the inside he was worried for his older brother. Ani-chan. Lee swings a fist from behind the blonde, intent on launching him forwards, only for him to spin around, catching it in his right hand. A collective gasp fills the room. I am possible, Lee utters in disbelief. A genin who can react to him with his weights off. What, how, said Guy in shock. I said it, Niji states in a matter-of-fact tone. Lee swings another fist that Naruto parries as the two begin a fierce exchange, Naruto swinging a punch that Lee himself parries before swinging a kick Naruto sidesteps. The two move about the room, at moments looking like blurs, cancelling each other's strikes out, one after the other. How is he even with Lee's taijutsu? That doesn't make any sense, Tenten exclaims. Is he even the same? She questions. No, Satsuki answers, Naruto's holding back greatly, he hasn't used any of his ninjutsu at all so far. Why? She questions, turning ahead. Because she trailed off as they watched as he grabbed Lee's arm and swings a right and left fist into his face. A kick to face sends him stumbling back, only for him to launch himself forward with a vicious headbutt that sends the boy in green onto his back. He's enjoying himself, said Satsuki, earning a shocked look from Tenten. Enjoying? Tenten questioned in confusion and disbelief. Satsuki nodded. Combat of any kind, even Mortal Kombat. Naruto considers it a sport, Satsuki responds, the other genin exchanging looks of shock, Kakashi's lone eye narrowing. Lee sits up to see the blonde standing, sporting a good few bruises like himself, a smirk in place with blood leaking from his mouth. Don't get me wrong, this is fun, but I meant what I said. If you don't start using your ninjutsu, you will lose, he says in a matter-of-fact tone. Minato sits back, watching on in shock. This is what his son has learned. Why? How? Naruto's taijutsu had to be above Jonin level by now. And he's not used any ninjutsu yet. Well? Naruto questions as the boy in green rises to his feet. He begins to unwrap the tape on one of his hands. Then all of a sudden he springs forward, Naruto at the ready, only for the opponent to begin sprinting in circles around him. Just what are you planning? Naruto questions to himself. Suddenly he finds himself flying into the air as a kick to the chin launches him. His speed exponentiated all of a sudden. What was that? Naruto said, amused. The fist comes, followed by another, a flurry of blows meeting Naruto's body, sending him further into the air. The boy in green grabs him, and the combat tape hanging from his arm finds itself around Naruto's body, restraining him as his opponent flips him upside down, the two twisting and turning in the air, barreling towards the ground. Primary Lotus, Lee yelled. As they approach the ground, however, Naruto infuses wind-style chakra, releasing it in a burst from his body, shredding the combat tape and sending his opponent flying, with a yell, as the wind-style chakra inflicts several cuts. The force of the wind cushions Naruto's landing, while Lee hits the ground with an unceremonious thud. The Lotus failed. What was that? Guy exclaims in disbelief. A wind-style change in chakra nature, coupled with a change in chakra form like that. I haven't seen that kind of control before. This kid, Kakashi notes, watching on. That was a wind-style change in chakra nature, Temari examines. He's a wind-style user. Baki narrows his eyes in intrigue. He knows how rare that affinity is, even in his own land. So he's a wind-style user, huh? Let's see what else he can do, thought Baki as he watched the battle in thrill. Lee groans, clutching at his arms, covered in cuts along with his torso. He rolls onto his stomach, getting onto his knees, the pain of the Lotus weighing on his body as well. My primary Lotus failed. How? Well, Naruto speaks weaving through hand signs. I did warn you, he says as the boy drags himself back on his feet. Naruto went through hand signs. Wind style. Wind orb barrage, he yelled. Firing several fist-sized projectiles of wind at the boy, colliding with his body, earning several yells of pain as he is sent flying again. Unfortunately, you can't hope to beat someone like Naruto with just Taijutsu. Satsuki notes, guy simply smirking to himself. Lee groans in pain, his clothes now covered in large orb-shaped holes from which he is bleeding, as he attempts once again to drag himself to his feet, his body screaming against him. Naruto takes a few steps forward, a grin wearing his face. His respect for this guy is growing by the minute. I think I understand now, he says as the boy lifts his head on his knees. You can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu at all, can you? He surmises as Lee slowly lifts himself off of his knees. Naruto watches as he rises to stare him down defiantly. Well, I've gotta say, you deserve your respect, Naruto said. Earning a low gasp and wide eyes from the boy. You're a real shinobi, but if what I've gathered really is the case, then unfortunately you're definitely not winning this, he says with finality weaving through the same set of hand signs from before. Wind style. Wind orb barrage, he exclaims again, releasing a flurry of projectiles that barrel towards his opponent. Just as they close in, however, the older genin once again moves at blurred motion to dodge them all, the projectiles colliding with the far wall, leaving small craters in them. Naruto's eyebrows rise. He can still move at that speed. The older genin comes to a stop, a few feet closer to the blonde. I thank you for your acknowledgement, Lee responds, but I will not lose, he declares, lowering his head, arms crossed in an X gesture. To hone your taijutsu to this level and still be able to wield ninjutsu, elemental ninjutsu at that, you are truly a genius, Naruto. And that Lee speaks as the air about him begins to visibly shift. Is precisely why we are not the same here. Ours as an explosion of chakra leaves his body, visible around his body. Gate. Gate of life open, he roared, his chakra visibly swirling around him as a green aura glows as well, Naruto watching on with intrigue as debris rises around the boy. So there's more, huh? Naruto mused. Fourth gate. Gate of pain open, more debris rises, cracks forming in the ground as the boy's skin begins to turn a red hue, veins bulging against his skin as if threatening to burst. The arena floor is split, debris rising as the boy suddenly disappears, and Naruto finds himself flying into the air, a kick to chin launching him. The force generated by the older genin's speed is sufficient enough to generate wind and debris that momentarily blinds all in the room, except those deploying visual jutsu. Naruto's eyes went wide as he found himself flying back down to the ground, struck by an almighty fist, followed by another and another, as the boy moves about him as a blur, launching him back and forth with fist and kick after fist and kick. This guy is strong, Naruto says to himself, smirking as he is knocked back and forth. Naruto, Satsuki, Naruko, Temari, Kushina, all cry in unison. Minato looks on in clear concern and fear as well, every fiber of his being screaming at him to jump in and stop the fight, but knowing Naruto could hate his guts for it. He may very well be a skilled ninjutsu user, but that doesn't matter against someone he can't weave signs against, Guy says smiling. Menma watches on in awe and disbelief, fists clenched. This is insane. No way is he even near this level yet. Naruto's body impacts with the ground, a spiderweb-shaped crater of cracks forming from the collision as he stares up to see his opponent descending upon him, a more concentrated blue aura beginning to surround him. Now to end it, fifth gate. Gate of closing open, he exclaims, cocking a last fist back, seeing the smirk on Naruto's face. I said I wouldn't do this, but well, I guess I lied. Lee swings his fist down on the boy, an explosion ringing throughout the room, dust and debris filling every corner now, coughs audible. Silence hangs as the debris continues to rise and spread, a few moments passing before it begins to dissipate. It's over now, it's gotta be, Shikamaru says, from the corners of the arena the dust begins to settle. Neji emits a shocked gasp, Kakashi following suit not long after as his Sharingan was raised. Everyone looked at the two strangely before they heard a dark chuckling. Dust began to dissipate from their vision as everyone felt a potent amount of chakra, as everyone dropped to their knees from the strength of the chakra. Even Minato dropped to one knee from the pure pressure. It was unreal. Everyone gasped as they felt the power from behind the dust screen as a person walked out. Chapter 16. The Chunin Exams Finals. Recap. So there's more, huh? Naruto mused. Fourth gate. Gate of pain open, more debris rises, cracks forming in the ground as the boy's skin begins to turn a red hue, veins bulging against his skin as if threatening to burst. The arena floor is split, debris rising as the boy suddenly disappears, and Naruto finds himself flying into the air, a kick to chin launching him. The force generated by the older genin speed is sufficient enough to generate wind and debris that momentarily blinds all in the room, except those deploying visual jutsu. Naruto's eyes went wide as he found himself flying back down to the ground, struck by an almighty fist, followed by another and another, as the boy moves about him as a blur, launching him back and forth with fist and kick after fist and kick. This guy is strong, Naruto says to himself, smirking as he is knocked back and forth. Naruto, Satsuki, Naruko, Temari, Kushina, all cry in unison. Minato looks on in clear concern and fear as well, every fiber of his being screaming at him to jump in and stop the fight, but knowing Naruto could hate his guts for it. He may very well be a skilled ninjutsu user, but that doesn't matter against someone he can't weave signs against, Guy says smiling. Menma watches on in awe and disbelief, fists clenched. This is insane. No way is he even near this level yet. Naruto's body impacts with the ground, a spiderweb-shaped crater of cracks forming from the collision as he stares up to see his opponent descending upon him, a more concentrated blue aura beginning to surround him. Now to end it, fifth gate. Gate of closing open, he exclaims, cocking a last fist back, seeing the smirk on Naruto's face. I said I wouldn't do this, but well, I guess I lied. Lee swings his fist down on the boy, an explosion ringing throughout the room, dust and debris filling every corner now, coughs audible. Silence hangs as the debris continues to rise and spread, a few moments passing before it begins to dissipate. It's over now, it's gotta be, Shikamaru says, from the corners of the arena the dust begins to settle. Niji emits a shocked gasp, Kakashi following suit not long after as his Sharingan was raised. Everyone looked at the two strangely before they heard a dark chuckling. Dust began to dissipate from their vision as everyone felt the potent amount of chakra, as everyone dropped to their knees from the strength of the chakra. Even Minato dropped to one knee from the pure pressure. It was unreal. Everyone gasped as they felt the power from behind the dust screen as a person walked out. Lee stood with his fist outstretched in Naruto's hand, who stands holding it with a bluish-purple aura glowing about him, pieces of debris floating around himself now. His once cerulean blue eyes are now a blinding white, the whites and pupils replaced completely by it. And no. That's not possible, said Guy as he shook his head in disbelief. The hidden lotus F failed. Kakashi looks in on similar shock, headband still raised and both eyes wide. There's no way. This chakra. I've never felt anything like it before. This boy is simply amazing, said Asuma as his Higiri had long fallen from his mouth. Minato's gazes at the scene in disbelief as well. He reacted to the hidden lotus. Naruto. Just what is that chakra? Kushina practically cheered inside of her head as she watches the scene. Training with Naruto, she could tell that he was holding back a lot in the entire fight, now this was new to her. This chakra. What is this? She questions to herself as Mito shakes beside her as well, her daughter having inherited her sensory as well. Satsuki mouth hung open as she looked on. How strong are you, Naruto-kun? Thought Satsuki as she glanced at the damage surrounding. There it is. That ominous chakra that suppressed all the time. This is what it feels like when allowed to surface, Shino notes to himself as his insects fly around him. Holy shit. He's not human, Shikamaru whispers hoarsely. Lee's body was roaring at him, his bones broken, muscles and tendons torn as his opponent stood before him. It can't be. No one can defend against a hidden lotus. How, thought Tenten with narrowed eyes. You fraud incredibly, but it is as I said, you were never going to beat me with only Taijutsu, said Naruto in an ominously tone. He defended himself against 5 of the 8 inner gates. And with his own chakra too. Minato, Kushina. You've created quite the monster. And his full potential is far from realized, thought Hiruzen. With Naruto's left eye returns to its original color, the right eye still glowing ominously. Lee's knees buckled as the aura around him finally dissipates, his opponent tossing him away. He skied away and rolls before coming to a stop, clearly desperately still trying to muster the strength to get himself back up. It's time to end this. The godly mountain wind. No, that would kill anyone with a direct hit, and he's in no shape to try and dodge. The wind orb barrage again, it is then, Naruto says to himself, weaving through the same signs as the boy drags himself to his knees. Lee releases one cry after another as the compressed bullets of wind chakra strike him, first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, sending him through the air again, onto the concrete with an unceremonious thud. Naruto's right eye returns to its original color as Lee hits the ground, the bluish-purple aura around him dissipating as the other boy sensei finally jumps down onto the arena floor, Lee still and unmoving. He runs over to the boy, examining him. It's over. It's done. He doesn't continue as the boy starts moving again, Naruto this time showing genuine shock, as for the umpteenth time, the boy in green drags himself to his feet, bloodied and bruised, holes all over his clothing, the top half hanging on by a few strings, in tatters. Eye begins to shake, tears leaving his eyes as he sees the boy's face, Naruto's eyes slowly widened as he stared at Lee. He's not even conscious. His willpower is the only thing holding him up, thought Naruto in astonishment. What have I done? Forgive me, Lee. It's okay, you've already proven yourself you did it, said Guy as he wrapped his arms around the boy. This match is over and the winner is Naruto, Strife declares. The words almost don't register to Naruto as he watches on at the scene. To those of you who won the right to compete in the third round test of the Chunin exam, congratulations to you all. Now Lord Hokage will take it from here, said Hade. Minato stepped to the podium as Tsunade, and Jiraiya was on his side. Thank you, Hade, said Minato as he stepped forth. He observed the genin before him. Minato smiled. Now I'd like to start explaining the main test. As I've told you before, in the main event, your matches will be seen by everyone. Each of you will fight to represent the strengths of your countries. I'd like you to show off all of your powers with no reserves, which is why the finals will be held 1 month from now. The atmosphere became thick as tension arose in the air. We're not going to do it here, right now? Asked Naruto as Minato shook his head no. This break, you can say, will be for preparations, Minato replied. What does that mean? Neji interrupted. Minato spoke thoughtfully and deliberately chose his words carefully so as not to undervalue the significance of this break. In other words, in addition to informing all the various country lords and shinobi leaders, this is the time needed to arrange for the gathering of the event, and this is also the preparation time for you examination students. What is that supposed to mean? Kankuro asked irritably. Basically, it's the preparation to get to know your enemy and yourself, said Minato. It's the time period where you will calculate your chances of winning by analyzing the data you accumulated during the trial competition. The battles up to now had you fight as if you were in an actual combat situation, with the assumption of fighting an unknown opponent. Everyone in the room glanced towards Naruto. Naruto's sweat dropped. What, responded Naruto as everyone turned their heads. So now that we know the enemy, we're going to be using that information in the next round? Tenten questioned. Indeed. This month should be used by all of you to advance and improve yourselves and rest your bodies as well, said Minato. Ooh, Naruko exclaimed enthusiastically. Let's get started. The fourth Hokage grinned. Well, I'd like to dismiss you now, but there's something that has to be done for the finals before I can do that, said Minato. Oh. My. Booking. Kami. Would you hurry it up, Naruto rudely complained, getting a glare from Jiraiya as he glared back. Well now, don't get so excited, the Hokage chuckled as Anko Mitarashi stepped forward holding a box. There are pieces of paper inside of the box that Anko's holding, so each of you take one piece. I'll come around, so wait your turn, Anko said as Naruto eagerly stepped forward. He settled back into the line of genin, impatient as Anko began walking around. Only one now, she said sharply as Naruto's fingers began exploring the contents of the box. He rolled his eyes and clenched his fist around a piece. 8. Naruto read off his paper. He faced forward as Anko cleared her throat. Now then, I'd like you to tell us the number on that paper in order, starting from the left, she said. Ibiki Marino was standing nearby with a clipboard and a pen, marking down the order as the genin began saying their numbers out loud. He observed them with an almost sarcastic disdain that really carried no malicious intent, although most of them probably wouldn't have appreciated the descriptions he associated with them. I have 5, said Neji Hyuga. I have 6, said Satsuki. I have 2, said Temari. Troublesome. I have 1, said Shikamaru. Adebayo. 3, said Naruko excitedly. 4, said Hinata stoically. TCH, I got 8, said Kankuro as he held up the paper. I have 7, said Shino with no emotion. 9, said Gaara. And I got 10, said Naruto. The Hokage ignored him and turned to Ibiki. Ibiki, show them the match arrangements, said Minato as Ibiki responded. Yes, Ibiki said as he turned his clipboard around, revealing the brackets. Match 1. Shikamaru Nara vs Ibuku no Temari. Match 2. Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze Senju vs Hinata Hyuga. Match 3. Neji Hyuga vs Satsuki Ichiha. Match 4. Shino Burm vs Ibuku no Kankuro. Match 5. Sabuku no Gaara vs Narrow Strife. Naruto turned to Gaara as he ruffled his hair playfully. Hey, looks like I'm fighting you, Itato, said Naruto with a grin as Gaara chuckled. Aki was absolutely and utterly baffled. Shukaku is not reacting. A and Gaara is laughing. Thought Baki, his mind going to haywire. Jiraiya's jaw nearly dropped. I heard that the boy was unstable, but he is laughing as if he were a normal child. And Naruto is treating him like a little brother, thought Jiraiya baffled. Gaara stopped laughing and gave a smirk. Don't hold back, Ani-chan. I will be giving it all that I've got, said Gaara as they fist bumped. The fourth Hokage watched the scene with amusement before he clapped his hands together. Well then, you're free to start strategizing or resting as you like. With this, I'll dismiss you all, but are there any final questions? Shikamaru raised his hand. Can I ask a question? Yes. Since it's a tournament, it would mean there is only one winner, right? Which would mean that only one person can become a Chunin, doesn't it? Said Shikamaru. No, that's not quite it, the Hokage answered. There will be judges, including myself, the Kazukiage, lords of various countries that will make mission requests, and other ninja leaders who will be watching the final test. Throughout the tournament, these judges will be evaluating your abilities. Those judged to have the necessary qualities of a Chunin will be able to become a Chunin, even if they lose their first match. That means that it's a possibility that everyone here will become a Chunin. Temari asked hopefully. Yes, Minato replied. But also there is a possibility that no one will become a Chunin to advance in the tournament, means that you will have more chances to appeal to the judges. The Hokage turned back to Shikamaru. Does that answer your question? Geez, Shikamaru muttered. As the Hokage looked around and saw that no one else had any questions, he smiled. Well then, thanks for all the effort you exerted for these trials. You're all dismissed until a month from now. Farewell, said Minato as he shined away in a yellow flash. You three get over here, said Kakashi as Naruto rolled eyes before making his way over. As Kushina stood by Kakashi. You guys performed splendidly, I already knew that you all would make it to the last stages. Although, there was a twist with Narumi, but you get the point, said Kakashi as he continued. For the Chunin exams you all will not be training together, you will all be trained separately. I will take up Satsuki training, and Kushina will take up Naruko training, said Kakashi. But what about Naruto-kun? Asked Naruko, but before Kakashi could speak a voice spoke from behind them. I will take up his training, said Jiraiya as he struck a kabuki pose. Naruto looked towards Jiraiya, then back to Kakashi, then back to Kakashi, and then to Kushina and then back to Jiraiya before he burst into a fit of laughter. Everyone turned towards Naruto. Why you? Said Naruto as he wiped the tears from his eyes, ignoring the glare from Jiraiya. Yeah, how about no, said Naruto as he chuckled, causing Jiraiya to fume. Oh yeah, I dare you to come over here and laugh at me. Before he could even blink, Naruto was in front of Jiraiya with a menacing look on his face. Ha ha ha, laughed Naruto with no mirth on his face. Jiraiya's expression and voice shifted into a playful tone. Yeah, see now we could laugh together, ha ha ha, laughed Jiraiya nervously, his arms in surrender as Naruto scoffed. Naruto turned and glanced at Kushina before winking, causing a small blush to appear on her face as she turned her head. A confused expression appeared on Kakashi's face as his eyes shifted back towards Naruto and then to Kushina and then back to his Icha paradise. Then that's just unholy thoughts plagued Kakashi's mind as his eyes drifted back to the supposed mother-son duo. Naruko and Satsuki turned to each other, a look of confusion on their face, same as Kakashi. Mom-sensei is blushing, thought the two genin. Besides, Naruto's voice seemingly snapped everyone from their thoughts. I have training with my summoning clan, so I won't be able to training with the pervert this month or be in Konoha, said Naruto boredly as Kushina frowned a little, which didn't go unnoticed by Kakashi. Well then be ready, because when you come back I will be the one to kick your ass, said Satsuki as her Sharingan activated. Naruto smirked. I'll be waiting. Get stronger, I'll see you all in a month, said Naruto. Everyone had to shield their eyes as a bright light of electricity hit the ground as Naruto was gone with a thunderstruck. Kakashi turned to Kushina with a look of we have to talk later as she sighed and know where this was going. As she nodded. Satsuki had a fire in her eyes and turned to Kakashi. What are we waiting on, let's go, said Satsuki as Kakashi's eyes smiled before grabbing her shoulder and vanishing in a shunshin. I'm ready to Kasan, said Naruko as Kushina grinned as she grabbed Naruko as well before vanishing in a rose petal shunshin, something she learned from Naruto. Hey, I'm coming too, said Jiraiya as he disappeared in a shunshin. The Chunin exams were coming up quickly and tensions were high. Who were going pave the way as true shinobi? Find out this chapter of Naruto, the neglected dragon sage god. Time skip. 1 month later, it was a bright day in the Leaf Village. The sun's rays were falling upon the village, creating bright streams of light through the many trees that the village was named after. Children could be seen playing within the streets, and teenagers and adults of all ages and genders were shopping for goods, while birds could be heard singing from above them. The sounds of cheering people could be heard all over the Hidden Leaf Village as shinobi, civilian, nobles, and commoners alike had all gathered to witness the Chunin exam finals. As he looked over the village from his seat in the cage booth, Minato Uzumaki Namikaze Senju couldn't help but be pleased with the turnout. In one section of the stand sat the members of the newly dubbed Konoha 14, which consisted of the members of the newly famed Rookie 11 along with the members of Team Guy, who hadn't made it to the finals. The name was given to them because of all of the genin of Konoha who had been placed in the Chunin exams, all 27 teams. It was the 4 rookie teams that passed the second stage and made it to the preliminary rounds. Sitting with them were the Jounin senseis of the teams, -1, each of them looking down at the students who had made it past the prelims in pride. On the arena floor 7 figures could be seen standing in a line facing the cage booth. Some of those figures were the genin who were about to compete in their matches: Aburam Shino, Hyuga Niji, Hyuga Hinata Senju Namikaze Uzumaki Naruko, Nara Shikamaru, Sabaku no Gaara, Sabaku no Temari and Sabaku no Kankuro, with the last member being the Jounin proctoring this match. The proctor, Shiranui Genma, had dark brown hair reaching to his neck and brown eyes. He was wearing his forehead protector like a bandana and the standard Jounin outfit of dark blue pants and a long-sleeved blue shirt with his Jounin flak jacket over it. Minato round as he saw that they were missing 2 ninja, Uchiha Satsuki and Strife Naruto. Uchiha Satsuki was with Kakashi, so it was a given that he would either make it at the late minute or turn up late. However, Naruto was not standing down there was worrying. He knew that his son was very detached from him and it was all his fault happened to him. Sir, there is still no sign of Satsuki Uchiha and Naruto strife, but we have a few squad searching for them, said a Jounin before he leaned over to whisper into his cage's ear. I see, said the Minato simply. Sir, do you think it's possible Orochimaru may have already gotten to her? Questioned the man. Minato didn't let his subordinate know what he was thinking, with several years of ninja experience, he had learned the art of keeping his face emotionless. However, the thought that Orochimaru may already have gotten his hands on Satsuki was worrying. Naruto has fought Orochimaru and said that his main goal was the Sharingan from Fugaku daughter. Before he could reply to the Jounin's words however, HH caught sight of a pair of white and blue robes out of the corner of his eye. Upon seeing them he turned to greet the arriving Kazekage. Kazekage dono, you must be tired from the long journey, Minato greeted cordially. Not at all, Rasa replied in his calm manner as he sat down. Though it's a good thing the exams were held here this time. It's closer than I were the cloud said the Kazekage, while Minato gave a small chuckle and waved him off. It seems we have two missing. Said the Kazekage upon taking his seat, eyes roving over to the field, and Minato nodded gravely. Standing up Minato gave his announcement, thank you for coming, I would like to welcome you all to Konoha's Chunin exam finals. We will now begin the main tournament between the 10 participants who made it through the preliminaries. The crowd went wild as they cheered Minato on, causing a warm smile to spread across his face. Minato nodded towards Genma who turned to look at the contestants. I'm the proctor of the finals, my name is Shiranui Genma. So you all know who you are facing, correct? Everyone nodded. This is the lineup for the main matches, said Genma holding up a sheet of paper with the matches shown on it. Great, a change up with me fighting a girl. Joy is me, thought Shikamaru sarcastically since he didn't want to fight girls. As you can see there will be 5 matches in the first round. Now while the arena is different, the same rules from the preliminaries apply. Any questions? Said Genma looking at the current contestants. Nobody spoke as Genma now began the exams. Will Shikamaru, Nara and Sabuku no Temari step forward. All other contestants go to the fighter's booth. Said Genma as Shikamaru sighed. What a drag, sighed Shikamaru as he stuffed his hands in his pocket and kicked a rock. Of course I'd be the one to fight a girl, troublesome, said Shikamaru, causing Temari to gain a tick mark. Just for that, I'm going to beat the laziness right out of you and then I'm going to ask Naruto-kun out on a date, said Temari with a smirk with several girls, unleashing killer intent at her. Though she did not just say that, thought several people glaring at the blonde Kunoichi from Suna. Especially a older woman with fire red hair, which started to slowly flow like the 9 tails. Height, said Genma with Temari moving quickly to finish this in at least one move. Oh holy crap, said Shikamaru, as he underestimated Temari's speed and barely dodged the hit from her iron fan. Stand your ground and fight, coward, said Temari, as she kept using her iron fan like a blunt object, and Shikamaru was running away while having flashback of seeing his father doing the same thing when mom was in one of her moods. So this is what he goes through all the time. I have a newly found level of respect for you, dad, thought Shikamaru before he tripped on a rock and looked back to see Temari leap in the air with her iron fan coming down on him. Take this, yelled Temari with Shikamaru seeing his life flash before his eyes. With my last breath I just want to say troublesome, said Shikamaru seeing the blunt object get closer to his skull. Smash, winner. Sabaku no Temari, said Genma, who winced at seeing Shikamaru twitching from taking the blow to the skull and was surprised the girl's weapon didn't have an imprint of the Nara's face on it. Temari went back to the stands as Naruko glared at her as she turned. What said Temari as scoffed and turned away. Will Naruko use Uzumaki Namikaze Senju and Hinata Hyuga, please step down, said Genma as Naruko jumped from the balcony, which caused the crowd to cheer even louder. While Hinata walked through the corridor causing people to cheer as well. Boo, oh go Naruko, said Narumi from the stands as she cheered her sister on. Kushina smiled at this. When Naruko-chan, thought Kushina as her thoughts then drifted off to her Naruto-kun. She smiled as she thought about her Naruto-kun. But where was he? Back to the fight. The two just stood there for a moment, calculating the other, seeing if they had improved or not. In truth, Hinata had improved a lot and kept up her meek facade to throw people off, much like Hei does with his constant sickness. And Naruko saw it subtly in the girl's stance. Still, you won't win. Naruko replied, talking not only about the battle, but their not too secret war on love. It was no secret that Naruko and Hinata had a crush on Naruto. Kushina saw this and groaned, knowing she had more competition for Naruto in the form of this Hyuga, but Naruko was right, the young Hyuga wouldn't win. We'll see about that. Hinata replied with a stone face, her usual meek personality long gone, catching a lot of people off guard that knew her, most notably her cousin Niji and her team. After she said that, she took off at Naruko, too fast for the red-headed girl to track, and hit her hard with a gentle fist palm strike. Naruko looked shocked that sweet little Hinata had done that, but she then gained a weak smile. Nicely done. She said before her form collapsed into water, signifying that she had been a mere water clone. Hinata's eyes widened and she quickly looked around for her opponent, finding her a few feet away. So, you use water jutsu now, this will not be easy then because I do the same. Really? I thought all Hyuga were more aligned to Earth. Naruko stated. They are and father wasn't happy, but it just proves I am just like my mother. Hinata replied, remembering when she revealed to the man about her powers in water. Indeed her father was not happy because it explained why she was not proficient in the Hyuga's style of fighting. But some good came out of it and he gave her mother notes on a new style of Hyuga-based fighting that she had been working on. She swore that she saw her father crack a very small smile as she looked through it. At this Neji narrowed his eyes. He knew Hinata was different than the rest of their family, now was his time to see how different she was. He did wonder though, did her fate say that she win against a Jinchuriki? Well, this will be fun then. Naruko said as she cracked a smile. Now she knew she couldn't get close to this girl. Let's see if you can handle this. Water style. Exploding water shock wave. A large amount of water came out of her mouth and started to surround her before it looked like a raging wave. Due to her large chakra reserves, this was a simple jutsu for the Namikaze girl to perform and there probably was a little more water than the jutsu called for, but who cared? Naruko smirked at Hinata's panicked look and thrust her hand forward, send the wave at the young Hyuga girl. Hinata was indeed panicking as this was not what she expected. She had to think faster else she could very well drown from this water jutsu. Then a technique her father taught her and Hanabi together surfaced in her mind. Ever since her revelation, her father decided to train the two girls, wanting to see what style was better. However, he did say that due to their current power, they were to use it together. Oh well. Try this. 8 trigrams vacuum wall palm she called out and what looked like a wall of wind clashed with the encroaching wall of water. Like her father said though, she wasn't ready to use the full form all by herself just yet and the water crashed all around her and the two walls cancelled each other out in a violent explosion, knocking her back into the water that now covered the arena floor. Ugh. Wow, didn't know you had it in you. Naruko replied shocked that Hinata did that. I knew that you were strong, but not this strong said Naruko in shock. There is a lot about me you don't know Hinata announced. Water style. Water needles at that, the water all around her rose up and shot at Naruko, make her had to dodge the nearly endless flow of water-based needles that managed to hit her quite a lot. In hindsight, maybe creating all that water was a bad idea. Hinata stopped the jutsu after a few minutes to conserve her chakra and looked to see that Naruko was in bad shape strike that, her clothes looked to be in bad shape from all the cuts of the water needles. Her natural healing factor as in Uzumaki and a Jinchuriki had already kicked in, making the Hyuga girl TSK as she forgot about that little detail. Naruko stared at Hinata for a moment, wondering what to do next for another idea came to mind. Slamming her fist to the water-covered ground, she called out her next jutsu, water style. 1,000 feeding sharks. Hinata felt her blood run cold as the water around her bubbled like it was boiling. Then all at once, sharks made out of water jumped out of the water at her. No, it won't end like this. I have grown too much to fall here, Hinata stated in fear before her mother's scroll back to mind. She couldn't use that technique at full power yet, but it would have to do. Protective 8 trigram 64 palms Hinata called out, catching Niji's attention as she moved her hands and arms around wildly as a checkered wall of chakra quickly formed around her with each wave of the hand. It was a chakra-based barrier that her mother had thought of but never actually implemented. Hinata managed to tweak it to her needs and made this awesome jutsu3 and people were impressed. Oh that is just awesome kick her ass Hinata Kiba shouted as all the water sharks exploded on contact of the wall, the water spraying on and all around her afterwards. Quite unexpected. Good for her. Shino managed to praised. He really did think it was a good jutsu. Kurenai just nodded happily. Asuma had to agree with Shino at that as he watched the battle with an amused gaze. He was actually analyzing the battle and saw that while it was good, he saw Naruko's hand still in the water and she was smirking. She was not done just yet. She was proven correct when Naruko said, water style. Nitro prison all the water was turned into a round ball and caught Hinata in a dome-looking ball. Hinata was captured. There, that was fun Naruko replied as she freed herself and walked over to the girl as Heiit called the match, feeling that was enough out of the two girls, signifying that Naruko was the winner. Overdone but true, now can you free her and get rid of all this water? Heiit asked. Sure. Naruko chirped. She tapped her foot on the ground and a wave of chakra shot out and made all the water evaporate, leaving Hinata a shivering mess. Still, she didn't hate the girl, so she offered a hand up. I win this round. Fine Hinata stuttered out as the two made their way back up the stairs to the stand. As everyone cheered at the amazing display. Genma waited until the crowd calmed down before calling out the next contestants. Niji Hyuga and Satsuki Uchiha, please make your way until the arena said Genma as everyone waited patiently. Genma turned to Minato as Minato nodded. Where are you Satsu-chan? Thought Mikoto as she sat next to Kushina who thought the same for her student. Unfortunately, Satsuki Azurbi dis, everyone was snapped out of their thoughts as a poof entered the arena as the cloud covered two figures. Mama, I hope we're not too late, said the lazy Jonin, Kakashi Haddock, and beside him was none other than a smirking Satsuki Ichiha, who had her 3 Tomo Sharingan activated. The battle shall commence. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.